Tonight, we have 6 speakers to discuss why a moratorium is needed. I would like to introduce our first speaker, Marietta's own City Council President, Susan Vessels, and she deserves a round of applause.
Thank you, Dee. I'm serving now in my 7th year on City Council. And in that time, I've received quite an education on what it takes to run a city. Roads, zoning, police and fire, lands, buildings, and parks, and water and sewer. Last July, I arrived early for a planning and zoning committee meeting. Because I was early, I accidentally, unintentionally, sat through a separate water and sewer committee meeting. At that meeting, Dee Arnold of Washington County for Safe Drinking Water and Bev Reed of Buckeye Environmental spoke about 2 pending permits to drill injection wells just outside the city. At that time, I had no idea what an injection well was, and similarly, the rest of the City Council was unfamiliar. In the following days, I started reflecting on what Bev and Dee had softly and simply shared. It was during the Council's July 17th regular meeting that it occurred to me that I should schedule a committee of the whole with the sole purpose of educating the Council on injection wells. In preparation for that meeting, I invited the county commissioners, our state representative and senator, experts from Ohio EPA, ODNR, petroleum engineers, a licensed geologist, oil company owners, and water superintendents. 11 speakers were scheduled. At the time, I had no idea who Bob Wilson and Bob Lane were, and I failed to invite them. But they showed up, as did over 100 members of the community, and we learned a lot. By the time that first meeting happened, a 5-day notice had been published in the Marietta Times on a 3rd pending permit for an injection well near Marietta, the Stephan No. 1 well. The notice application was filed in accordance with the expired Ohio administrative rules, which required that any comment filed on the Stephan well had to be received within 15 days of notice completion. At the very end of our committee of the whole, Councilor O'Neill made a motion that I draft a comment and objection letter on the Stephan application on behalf of our city. So, as tasked, within 9 days, I completed a letter on behalf of the city. It was signed by 9 elected officials, 5 Republicans and 4 Democrats. The letter was supported with 28 exhibits, including 6 ODNR orders, an ODNR study, and 4 affidavits. The letter asked ODNR for 3 things. First, enforcement of the current version of Ohio Administrative Code Section 1501-9 when considering the permit application. It asked for denial of the permit application altogether for reasons of public health, safety, and good conservation practices. And 3, it asked for a public meeting on the application. I am told that our response was the first time that a city has ever mobilized within 15 days to timely file such a letter. Despite the city's request for a public hearing and without the courtesy of notifying the city, ODNR issued the permit to drill the Stephan No. 1 well on August 28th. We learned about the permit being issued only after an ODNR database search on September 3rd. There was no offer of a public hearing prior to the issuance. The issue then became, what do we do next? City Law Director Bertram decided to file a notice of appeal and request for a stay of execution with the Ohio Oil and Gas Commission. This was accomplished on September 22nd within the 30-day appeal window. I called the Ohio Oil and Gas Commission this afternoon. Over 5 months later, the appeal has yet to be set by the commission for an evidentiary hearing, which is a hearing on the merits. At the time the Oil and Gas Commission appeal was filed, the council began working on a resolution to allow the city to file a writ of mandamus and the Franklin County Common Pleas Court to force the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to follow the law. A writ of mandamus is a tool whereby citizens can utilize the courts to force state agencies to follow state law. A basic thing that you need to know, this could be on a bar exam. I passed the Ohio bar after graduating from the Moritz College of Law in 2003, is that it is long settled law requires that the law applied to the review of a permit application is a law in existence at the time of the permit review, and not the law in existence at the time of the filing of the application. In approving the second well application to drill, ODNR applied the law in existence prior to 2022, even though the review of the application occurred in 2025. About the same time that we were working on the writ of mandamus resolution, at the suggestion of Councilor Mike Scales, we also started working on a moratorium resolution. The purpose of the moratorium resolution was to get the attention of our state level leaders so that they may decide to help us. The city's moratorium resolution summarized dangers the city was facing, including, first, all of Ohio's failed Class 2 injection wells are located in Southeast Ohio, and all of those wells were permitted and regulated under the expired rules. 2, the pending Class 1 permit is proposed for the Oriskany sandstone, a formation that has never before been used for a Class 1 well. 3, waste from injection wells in Washington County is migrating to the surface from intended injection zones, with migration in Washington County found over 5 miles from the point of injection. 4, ODNR and Ohio EPA have failed to explain why the presence of PFHXA and PFHPA, which are frac fluid stabilization chemicals, appear in the Williamstown tap water, and why it is not evidence of communication between an injection well and an aquifer. And since 2023, according to ODNR's own database, seismic activity in Washington County has increased almost 20 times over, an indication that rock formations claimed to be retaining the injected wastewater deep underground are moving and likely fracturing. The city's moratorium resolution, after summarizing these types of risks, and it wasn't limited to those 5, asked state leaders to enact legislation that would do all of the following 4 things. First, stop the permitting of all new injection wells in Washington County for a period of 3 years. Stop the importing of out-of-state waste for injection in Washington County for a period of 3 years. Stop all current injection of waste within 6 miles of Marietta's aquifer, and require a full study of brine migration within Washington County. The city passed its amended moratorium resolution on October 9th unanimously. On October 24th, Mayor Schlichter and I personally delivered to the State House and Wright Tower copies addressed individually to the governor, all state senators, and all state representatives. The city's efforts in this regard have yet to be acknowledged by our state leadership. We did not receive so much as a single letter or phone call in response from the governor, a single letter or phone call in response from a state representative, or a single letter or phone call in response from a state senator. But what did happen is individuals from the water districts, initially organized by Betsy Cook and her group Living Democracy, Engaging Citizens, they stepped up. Living Democracy, Engaging Citizens has a mission to inform and educate people in the Mid-Ohio Valley about how government works on the local, state, and federal levels. Mrs. Cook explains, we help citizens learn to become involved so that our democracy may work better. Mrs. Cook started speaking with local leaders and representatives from our county water districts about also filing moratorium resolutions like the one that the city of Marietta did at the state level. And of course, that is why we are here this evening preparing for the delivery of a total of 9 unique moratorium resolutions from Washington County political subdivision. I am told that this is the first time that representatives from our water districts have ever met with the goal of working across jurisdictions to protect water. It is an extraordinary thing, and it is truly living democracy and engaging citizens. So thank you to everyone that has so far participated in this extraordinary effort to protect our water from what I personally consider is malfeasance of a state agency that so far refuses to follow the most basic civil procedure law and to protect us from the unacceptable consequences of continuing to inject waste without consideration of proximity to aquifers by an industry desperate to continue with the status quo. All evidence points to the fact that the status quo is no longer safe and that's no longer acceptable in Washington County. Thank you to everyone here in support of this.